This episode is brought to you by the Thrive Tribe. Check it out at chasingbrighter.com/Thrive Tribe. Hey, Kelly, how are you doing?
Good, Jess. How are you?
Good.
Wes in baseball at DePaul, the last couple weeks, they've had games against some pretty big rivals and two different schools that were behaving. I was surprised at the level of unsportsmanlike conduct of the opposing team's baseball team,
Mhm.
that the coaches of those teams did very little to stop very quickly. And it's funny because one of the schools, which is St. Ignatius, is one of the schools that Wes was considering. It's like
Mhm.
closer for us. It's harder to get into, but he did not enjoy the baseball team there. He just didn't like the vibe. It just didn't suit him well. And he told me this story when he was at camp about how one of his friends got hit in the head with a baseball, and like the kids, they were campers. And then the students that were there who were the baseball players laughed at this kid. And Wes was like really offended by the whole situation for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it like was one of the reasons why he was like, I don't want to go there. And it's funny because this same school, here they're playing baseball. And like just one of the kids on DePaul's team is pitching and he loaded up the bases walking, which happens, right?
Yeah.
And the kids on the other team were like, it's your fault. You're going to lose. It's your fault.
The umpire doesn't stop that?
No, nobody stopped it. And then a couple of the kids had words with their coach. This was the JV teams. And essentially, then our coach talked to their coach. And the punishment at the end of the game was the kids had to run, the players had to run. And St. Ignatius is a very reputable, prestigious high school. And I was just really surprised at the way that was handled because let me give you another example. So yesterday, one of the teams played another Catholic school on the South side, and you usually play one day is away and one day is home for these teams. It's like conference play. And, it's again, another competitive rivalry. Apparently, one of the other kids on the other team said some very offensive, insulting things to a couple of the players on the DePaul team. And it's not like everybody's innocent here, but I notice it too. You can tell there's a layer of cheering and jeering, and then there's a layer of like inappropriateness, right? So anyway, so this kid said something really cruel to somebody on the DePaul team. And I don't know if they alerted the other team or what, but we got an email this morning. This was a freshman sophomore team. So Wesley's been on the team. We got an email from the head of the baseball program at DePaul. Basically said, this happened yesterday. It's very inappropriate. That is not the kind of school we are.
Yeah.
Our players will not act that way. And if you are found, you can just turn your uniform in.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's exactly the kind of program I want to be a part of. Because to me, high school sports is not only about the experience of
It's like human you're going to be. There was this
yeah,
guy I heard a long time ago. He started a program and it was for varsity athletes. And it was actually about like rape culture and about womanizing and stuff like that. And I just saw something else, a reel about how it takes one person. So many people. So when Dominic started playing like way up, right? So he was like 12 on 14U. And I heard the way they were talking. And I was like, oh my God, Justin. He was like, this is how 14-year-olds talk. This is how 14-year-old boys are, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but you're the coach. And you could say, shut the F up. Like it takes one person
yeah,
to be like, that's not cool, blah, blah, blah. So we went out with I'm good friends with the coach's girlfriend. So Justin and I went out with them the other night and her and I were talking because I forgot, because we're talking about this one kid who has very little parenting. Like his housing situation is not that great. And so the coach struggles a lot with when do you say enough is enough, because here I am trying to like really help this kid out.
you can't
However,
save the kid.
his behavior, it's like there's only
Yeah,
so much because he's going to take everybody down with him. And it's like a struggle that he has because he also, not that he's trying to save the players, he wants to give these kids opportunities and doesn't want to have any obstacles for them to get to the field because of how
Yeah.
sports can be
Yes.
amazing
Yes.
for you.
Yeah.
And so we were talking, and I go, do you guys say anything to him? Because it takes one person to just stand up and say one thing. You don't have to give a spiel on blah, blah, but you have to be like, that's not cool, man. Like, it doesn't have to be this huge thing. I do have to say, so Gabby's batting coach, his kids both play at the collegiate level. His daughter plays for D2. And I remember one of the very first games he went out to go visit because she's older than the son. So she was playing collegiate before the son. And he was like, softball's really rough. Softball's pretty rough here in Vegas. And he goes, you know how it's crazy and like people get in fights and you're like, that's so crazy. And you're like, oh, at college, that would never happen. He goes, oh my God, there was a college coach yelling at the crowd, like cursing at a parent who was saying something. He was like, we're at collegiate level, NCAA Division II, and there's fighting. And he goes, you would think that it wouldn't be like that. And yeah, it's what you allow for your program, right?
Yeah. I think, and so I don't, in some ways to me, it's a bit of a reflection of the schools, but at the end of the day, it's not really the school itself. It's those particular teams, those particular coaching, the culture that those
Yeah.
particular
Well,
sports
everybody
at
involved.
that
And if you're a
school set.
parent and you see that and you're not speaking up, it just takes, again, one person to speak up. Like you're hearing that because that's the one thing I do have to say when he went to 14U and I heard kids talking like that, Dominic was up against the fence and not engaging with anybody. And I have talks with him about it, but Dominic just rises above it and doesn't get into it because
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
feminist.
Yeah.
Like he is when we talk about stuff. Dominic just doesn't get that talk. That's just not how he's been raised. So he doesn't engage. But we do have talks about it on, I don't know. I think that's good too to like talk to your kids on what do you do if you're in the locker room and people start saying this stuff? What can we say? What are some things we can say or what are some things that we can do? Because we can change this culture. It doesn't have to be that's how boys are.
I don't think there's a place for cruelty and meanness
Yeah.
anywhere. And it's
I'm
nice when
surprised the umpires didn't do anything, Kelly. I'm so shocked.
I don't know if there was a lot of yelling and shouting. There's a lot of things going on. So it wasn't just
Yeah.
one thing.
Yeah.
There are just comments that, again, these are young adults who they need to just be told, don't do that. To your point, like all you
Yeah.
have to say is don't do that. And if they do it again, there can be a consequence. But
Yeah.
a lot of these kids, my experience, I'm like, I'm not afraid of it anymore. Remember,
Yeah.
I had my traumatic experience of doing the 2-night sleepover with Wes's 8th grade class last year.
Yes.
And there were definitely kids who don't make the greatest decisions, don't choose the most impeccable words to say, but you call them out. And for the most part, that was it.
Yeah.
And so I think just letting it go on, especially as an adult in like a coaching staff thing, was like,
Yeah.
wow, it was really surprising to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's
Anyway,
unfortunate, but I think validates the
it's
choice in schools for you
it
guys.
did. It did. And
Yeah.
you see it in other sports too, even with Beck playing soccer, the one day the coach, the ref. So the rule in soccer is it could be everywhere, but it's definitely enforced in some cases in soccer, which is for the league that the kids are in now or Beck's in now. If a parent is caught saying anything offensive to the ref, writes up, penalizes the coach,
Mm-hmm.
and then the coach will get ejected for the parents.
Yeah.
I've also seen parents get ejected.
That happens in our
What
leagues.
was
Yeah.
funny, I think some sort of a protocol. And so the coach, the opposing team, it was a really neck and neck game. And the ref told the coach, like, hey, your parents are whatever, they need to settle down. And the coach was like, get rid of them, kick them off, kick them out. It was great because it was like, guess what? I can't control my parents. If you can, great. Get rid of them. They don't need to be here if they're acting that way. So I appreciated that. We thought that was funny. That was for the most part, all these sports, what's fun is most people have honor
Yeah.
and integrity and know that good sportsmanship is really like the most important.
Well,
part.
I think it's like why we've enjoyed that Gabby bumped up to 18U and why I'm glad Dominic will be playing 18U because you'll see that for Wes. The kids that continue playing, especially at the club ball level, because it is expensive and a sacrifice, are there because they're looking to go post high school. And so it's just, I'm here to do a job and then I'm going to go home. And it's not about like winning, right? It's about you elevating your level of play and letting colleges see you. So it's just not as crazy as like the younger the younger kids because it's like with Giovanni, I'm so over it. We've been sitting way in the outfield, way away from everybody because I'm so over all parents. I don't want to be by anybody and I just want to sit and do my own thing. And I don't want to hear, I'm over it. I don't want to hear it. It gets toxic and negative and I'm done.
Yeah, especially for me where I struggle with a lot of anxiety, sometimes it gets really stressful
Yeah. Yeah.
and it makes me annoyed. Actually, last or a couple weeks ago, we went to a soccer game. And like when you go to soccer games, one team sits in one area and the other team sits in actually every game is this way, right? Soccer, it's all one single sideline
Yeah.
where one half of the field is one and one's
Yeah.
the other. This woman from the other team stood right next to me the whole game cheering for the opposing team. She was completely by herself. And I was really annoyed. And I was like, Brent, can you hear her? Like, why is she over here? It's so weird.
Because they probably kicked her. No one likes her and she's been ostracized.
Yes.
So she has to be
She's a
with
little
someone.
weird. She was a little weird. Like after the game, she was doing splits on the sideline. Just
Stretching out,
stretching.
getting
I'm just
that,
going to
yeah.
do some splits right here. That was really annoying to me. And at some point in the half, she came over and was like, do you know how long the halves are? And I was like, no. I wanted to just send a signal that you need to get
Yeah.
away from
We're
me.
not friends. You're too
Yes.
much. There is like unspoken rules in all sports, right? And so in softball and baseball, like like behind home plate, you can maybe have half of it. But you can't take over the whole entire area behind. So I know there was a team, and not only they take over home plate, they sat on our side. So let's say they're the first base side and they're over on the third base side. And we played this team twice, once in Arizona, and we're like, who are these people? What are you doing over by third base? You need to be over on the first base side. Everyone knows you don't come on this side. We go to the Knights and they have signs, but in hockey, when the puck is live, when it is live played, you cannot get up. You can't come find your seat. You wait till they blow the whistle and the puck is stopped and then you can go move. No, people are just like coming and you're like, all the people that we share seats with, you're just like eyeballing each other. Like you don't get up and move. You wait until there's no live play. So there are all these kind of like unspoken rules, I think, in sports.
Yeah, there's
that
certain like etiquette or
where you
protocols.
sit, what you say, who you can.
Can we talk about the ultimate baseball faux pas as a parent, which is do not lean against the fence when there are people sitting in bleachers
Right. Yeah.
behind you?
When you stand up and you just lean against the fence, you're like, oh, no one's right here. There was this one guy and he'd be like, oh, no one's up at the front. So I'm just going to come watch my kid
let
real
me
quick
just
and
stand
stand up
there.
and
It's
put my
like,
arms up and don't see people behind you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bananas.
goodness gracious. Yes. Before we end today, I just want to ask, and maybe this will cause you stress, but do you have anything on your summer bucket list or any plans?
Before summer is my birthday and Mother's Day, and I don't have anything on that list right now. I
Yeah.
feel I have so much going on that I don't even have a want of things per se. So I'm not there yet. Also, like it really hasn't been that nice. But we have our lake house. And I'm really looking forward to enjoying that whenever that happens, because right now it just doesn't feel like reachable.
Yeah, it seems overwhelming. When is West End West School?
The last week of May is finals. So it's a week after
Does he still have
Memorial
school
Day.
the 28th and 29th then? That
His
Thursday, Friday?
finals the week after
Okay.
Memorial Day.
So something to think about, put a little bug in your ear. There is an 18U tournament in Arizona. I don't know if I gave you those dates. Remember, I texted you the dates a million years ago. There's an 18U tournament the 29th, the 30th, and 31st, and then a 16U tournament the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all in the Phoenix area. I was laughing at mom and dad. So listeners, our father retired, our mother's been retired, and she does like contract work. And our dad just retired. And I was like, oh, are you guys going to go to the Phoenix tournament? Because you're renting a house. And Jed's like, we're not going. And I go, are you going to be those person that like retires and then you're angry and yell about traffic and then you're just not going to go anywhere? What's the point of retiring? And then Justin found, because we were talking to them, we were looking at a 3-bedroom house. And then Justin found this insane 4-bedroom house with a movie theater room, an arcade, golf, putting, pool, like all this amazing stuff. And so he's, all right, we'll go. And I was like, that'd be great if we had 2 cars. Gabby would be so excited. So dad's like, okay, we'll go. So we rented this house and I'm nervous. So I'll let you know for your future lake house. But some of these houses we've talked before are so insane with their rules for renting that you're like, why do you
Yes.
even have an Airbnb then? But this one is owned by someone that has like many properties. So after I booked it, I had to go and complete this list. And it was like, there are cameras outside, there are sound, noise,
Oh, detection.
leveling
We're getting all
things
those.
in
Yeah.
the house
Yeah.
for noise. And I'm like, this is why. So my friend told me that her friends rented a house and it was like 3 families and they had little kids. And the little kids were in the pool and they were screaming in the pool and having fun that they were making the noise things go off, that they were asked to leave the property. Now that's crazy to me, right? You were in a pool having fun. Like, I understand quiet hours, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., but this one is like no groups, no parties. But I get no parties. But let's say I'm visiting Phoenix and my aunt and uncle live there, and I'm like, oh, you guys should come over tonight for dinner. They're gonna monitor that on the outside
They
cameras.
will.
That's
Yes.
too much for me. I understand no parties, not being loud, whatever. But the point of having a house is every time we've had a house, we make, oh, you guys should come over. We're not destroying our partying, but we're hosting, like, it's a home for us. So anyway, so Dominic was like, "Oh, there's like golf and there's this on the property." I'm like, don't tell anybody. Don't, if you tell anybody on the team, because then they're going to be like, let's go. Because I'm so afraid of this noise
What you have to
monitoring
do, Jess,
that
is you
I'm,
put them, if you have guests, you smuggle them in your vehicle into
yeah,
the garage.
get down. I don't know if we have a garage on this property,
Although
but
they have exterior. So yeah, the new Airbnb rules are like anytime we've stayed in Vegas, Jess,
yeah,
has been only 4 guests or 6 guests or whatever.
yeah,
It is like you can only have that many people. You're not allowed to have other things. Now, you guys come over, mom and dad come over, but we've never hosted
yeah.
anything. And it's because I've always been like, can we
Well,
host some?
yeah. When we rented the house in Napa, it was like the house slept like 20. And it said on there, she didn't see, oh, every guest over 10, it's $25 a night or something. It was the fine print. And Teresa was so mad. And we were just saying, like, the cameras that they had, she had cameras in the house. There was a little camera in the house when you walked in. And we were like, why even don't have a 6-bedroom home that you're hosting if you're going to be this crazy about it. So we're very clean and very quiet. And I love Airbnbs and I like getting fancy ones. And no one goes to Phoenix. It's going to be 5,000 degrees.
It's
No
the
one's going to be there.
problem.
So it's so cheap, but I'm like scared now. It rules.
The
We're so
problem
scared.
are that people can be a-holes and they've ruined
Yeah.
it for everybody else. And so
Yeah.
I always look at those rules too and think that they don't apply to me, but do depending on what it is. And
Yes. Yeah.
one of the things is that it does seem like a lot of places now people rent and they jam as many people as possible in them. And then even though you're clean and you're good, your kids, you have no control over your kids. You have no control over other guests. And
Yeah.
I think they've figured out how to put in these like
Yeah.
controls.
Yeah, I just don't like the cameras. I'm fine with it being in a contract, but I just think it's very invasive to have cameras and to use them. And I don't know if they're monitoring them. That just, I'm just, I don't
We
know.
have
So we'll see.
cameras. We will have cameras. We have cameras on our exterior right now too. And I don't know if we'll add
I think
more.
that's a deterrent,
But
but to say our cameras are watching you to count how many people come in, that bothers me. And all of this
um,
was like not in the Airbnb stuff, but it was like you book the property and then you had to fill out some forms. And they also wanted every adult who's staying first, last name, and email address. So that was a little invasive. We'll see.
so a lot of places people start. I'm guessing that place has really high reviews and now is getting more selective, which means they don't need the money. So there's a balance there where they're trying to
Yeah.
use all those things as deterrents for people.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I think this is where like you let them know, hey, we might have people over. Is that okay? To give them a heads
But
up,
we're not having people over. I have
then
one really loud child that I'm like, they're going to be like, the noise thing's going up. And I'm like, it's one 10-year-old. Because who did I say it to? I said something about noise things, and Gabby was like, Gio's really loud, so we're all scared.
that's good. Maybe he'll have to just be quieter.
Yeah,
We'll have
no,
to like
Kelly, that's not in
think
his
about.
makeup, and that's okay. That will be his strength at some point. Anyway, so that's what's going on with our summer plans. But I didn't know if we'd be done enough for Wes to join us or not. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know yet because he has finals that week, and I'm not sure like what the exact
What's the
schedule
breakdown
is
going to
just
be?
yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he hasn't had a lot of playtime on JV, and so then he's going to move to his travel team as well. They pick up right away, or I think they'll pick up soon. So I'll get a sense of the vibe for that. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely going to come out.
The way, what we've learned
So,
before we wind down today, what we have learned is everyone in the area, regardless of the sport, if you play club ball, you get worse during high school season because it's just not, you just don't get as many reps. It's just not the same. It's just very different. And so, not that I don't want to say that he's getting worse, but like you said, he hasn't got a lot of reps and you're going to jump right into club ball. And there's some catch up there a little bit. A lot of
well,
times
he
that's what it
hasn't,
is
he was
here,
playing
so,
a lot.
yeah.
And then this conference game, he hasn't played as much. Also, he's been
Yeah.
sick. So he gets pulled out
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that. But he hasn't. Also, I think during high school, you don't always play the same positions that you will be playing during club.
Yeah, and high school is all 18U. You have everybody all different ages. You know what I mean? It's one level, whereas when you're club ball, it's 14U, 15U, 16U, 18U. So you're playing all the time. But in high school, you're competing with 4 different levels. It's just very different. It's just very different, where you might be like starting and playing all the time on your 14U team, but barely playing in high school or whatever it is, because
Yeah. I
it's,
think
you
next year
know,
will be better.
yeah,
But even I know, sounds like from the freshman,
yeah,
sophomore teams, like a lot of them, like you're saying, there's 20 kids on the bench and maybe everybody gets playtime, which means you don't get to play every game
yeah.
because
It's different.
everybody
It's
gets a
very
chance.
different,
So,
but
yeah.
yeah, so just something to think about, listeners, is start thinking about what fun you're going to have. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to
summer
include
plans.
traveling to a lake house or Airbnb, but what's some joy you're going to sprinkle in your summer schedule.
Thanks for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe so you can hear our latest episodes as soon as they drop.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend. Find us on Instagram, Facebook at Chasing Brighter, or check out our blog at chasingbrighter.com and follow us. If you want to know more about Kelly and I, read our blogs, find more tips, tools, and resources, check that out at chasingbrighter.com. Thanks. Remember, your best life is just a listen away.